Today I've chosen some of the most interesting tactics from the Biel Chess Festival, specifically from 2023.
Mhm.
Arne and I will be playing in the Open tournament, while there's also an invitational section with very strong grandmasters. And today we will be training our tactical vision through some of these grandmaster games.
Yes, looking forward to that. And we have, oh yeah, the winner of the tournament, I think. It was Quang Liem, right?
Yeah,
We start
the
with
first
him.
game is between Quang Liem and David Navara.
Yeah,
I will go straight to the tactical moments
perfect.
because there are a few examples that I want to show to you today. So this was the first game. It was a very unique game where first White started the fire with a very fun tactic of bishop takes g7, king takes g7, and then the king came to h6. A very funny and unique position of the king. It ends up all the way on h6, but in a matter of a few moves, it is actually going to be black who starts a really dangerous attack.
That wouldn't have seen coming at all. Whoa, okay.
I know I jumped right into it, but I want you to solve the tactic for black.
Okay, for you at home,
So
of course, as well. Um, oh, what is
no, go ahead.
happening?
It's not at the tactic yet.
Oh, yeah, I see. No, no, but if it's not yet, then I'll still wait patiently for the tactic. But
So
what the
first,
heck is this game?
black goes on with f4. I know. I wanted to at least show how this position even started out.
Yeah, well done for doing that.
Okay, now we're at the tactics. So in this format, I usually stop it at the critical moment so that Arne and all of you at home can also guess it yourself. So try to figure out the next move for black. This is probably one of my favorite moves from Biel 2023.
Yeah, I think I see it. Um, yes, every my alarm and my radar are pointing in that direction. It has to work, but I haven't figured out how yet. But the queen has to take on h4, right?
Yes, for all those who found it, this was exactly the move that Navara played in the game.
Nice.
Queen to h4 is an amazing sacrifice. It doesn't win in some of the lines, it only
Hmm.
leads to a draw, but still, it stays the best move in the position.
Okay.
So, what was your idea after the recapture?
So, yeah, that's the question, right? Either rook g8, but I think it might be a different move order,
No, rook
or
g8 is a good
it
start.
is a good start. Okay, and of course, after king goes to h1, we go bishop h3, f3 check,
Perfect.
and then we take the pawn on e3 with check, and that's already made, right?
That,
Yeah.
yes, that is mate, a really funny mate.
But of course, the king doesn't have to go there. So, yeah, it goes up. And in this case, it gets a bit more difficult. Okay. So,
Yes.
the initial plan of taking on e3 doesn't really work because of f4, I think. So, instead, we go f3 check
Yeah,
and then rook g2, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. So, this was one of the difficult lines to calculate in the queen
nice.
h4 variation. And now white needs to find a way to protect the g file because the rook is threatening to go rook h2 and then the other rook can join with the checkmate.
Mhm.
And white does have a few saves, either with the queen or with the knight, which I think is the best way. And
Ah,
then basically black will have to just repeat the moves with the rook back and forth on g2 and h2.
oh, okay.
There might be some other options, but I think if black, I think the most logical outcome here is just a draw because if you choose this rook, then there's knight to g5, and that protects the g file. So still a very interesting line and a really funny pattern with the king and the rook. But this is what could have happened if white had taken the queen. Maybe white was just, too shocked, or maybe didn't believe in this defense with the knight. Maybe there was another way that he saw that black could keep the game going and it was a dangerous attack. So
Hmm.
he actually took on f4 with
Oh
the
my
e-pawn. Of
God.
course, not the g-pawn to open up the file, but the e-pawn.
Yeah.
So now black is actually having a really, really good attack with queen h3 and then Now even things like rook f4 are possible and nice, but he just went with a simple rook e8 and traded the queens to be in a winning endgame.
Oh, yeah.
Still some work to be done, but Navara went on to win this up a piece. So that was the first tactic with queen to h4. It was one of my favorite moves.
What a first tactic. Absolutely nice. Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, so this one is between Basim and Quang Liem again, but it was a really interesting attack. It was a very complicated battle. This one is really double-edged. So Black now goes knight to f4, attacking both the queen and the rook.
Very
and
brave.
I want you to try to find the continuation for white and try to not fall for the same trick that white fell for in this game.
Whoa. Okay, I mean, it cannot be more obvious that, of course, queen h7 is in the air, but the question is this enough? The king has to go to f7, and then what? That is the question. Huh. I don't see a real good follow-up. So, what about you at home? What is happening here? How is that? It has to be queen h7 check. King goes to f7.
Yeah, that's the good start.
Then the rook takes h6. Doesn't threaten anything again. How about knight g4 doesn't threaten much either. There's the bishop taking g4. What can we do here? No, that doesn't work either. Oh, that is tricky. That is tricky. So, Quang Liem actually calculated.
You mentioned rook takes h6, right?
Yeah.
This is what was played in the game, and it was a really big mistake because of queen to g5.
Ouch. Checkmate threat ahead.
Both checkmate and the rook is hanging, so white had to give up the rook. They still had one more saving move with rook to g6, and after knight takes on g6, knight to f3. A really interesting tactic because it first attacks the queen, and it also has the idea of playing knight to e5 and basically regaining the piece. Otherwise, white would have had to give up the bishop for it. And okay, white is down in exchange, but it's still playable, and the game goes on for a long time after this. So that was a save for white, but instead he won g3 and resigned the game soon after, because regaining the exchange in this way is not quite as good as in the other one. There's too many weaknesses, and white actually resigned after rook to g8. So here was a really tough moment there was only one winning move. So what was your final guess?
Well, then I will go rook f5 check.
Okay. Rook f5 check actually works in some of the lines. It doesn't win here, but it is an idea that is used in a lot of the lines.
Damn.
The winning move, I don't know if anybody found it. I thought it was really complicated. It was rook to e1.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Cutting off the king from the e file, so that it's in a mating net. And if black ever takes an h5, there is bishop g6, and then bishop takes an h5. So it's kind of a quieter variation because rook e1 doesn't make a check. Now this position, there's no checks or anything, but the threats are just too big.
That's so cool, actually. I should have found this. I thought about
it is a pretty cool mating
e1,
net,
but I couldn't find it.
And in some lines, there's your rook f5 idea. For example, here, it works out really well and leads to a really good position for white. It's winning. It's a bit complicated, but it wins for white because the knight actually is almost trapped. And knight g4 can join next turn, so it's just a winning position because of the rook on h8 not doing anything. So It's a lot of these lines. There's also this other rook that can join on e5 and to start making threats here. But this rook to e1 move is the one that makes it all possible, and it is a very tough one to see, especially far in advance. So this was the winning line for those who found it. But as we see, even grandmasters can miss these things sometimes.
Yeah, and it apparently both,
Yeah,
right? So Le Quang Liem thought that'll work, and of course, I mean, Basim didn't find the working move.
yeah. So remember this idea for future attacks.
Yeah.
It's really good to know these just as plans, so that then you can have them as a pattern recognition when they happen in your own games.
That's a great, great point. All right, let's get to the next one. So I got 1 out of 2. I'll get
Yeah.
there. I'll get there.
Okay, this next one is the game between Keymer and Arne.
Oof.
This time, it's time to find an important positional decision that gives white winning chances in this endgame. So of course, normally it would be a draw, and it is equal even at this point. But I want you to try to also give you a positional tactic to solve, so that it's not just attacks that we see today.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, have you seen the same idea as me? It has to be rook takes e6.
Yes, yes.
That'll has to work. It just looks so good.
Yes, and that's one of the very few things that can really change the pawn structure and everything. But I think the hard part here is to actually, it's tough when you don't know that it's a tactic during
Yeah.
the game, right?
Yeah.
And to actually decide to do that. But it is good to see these options and to, even consider these things, like this rook exchange sacrifice.
That
So
is
this
very
does
brave.
give white winning chances in the endgame. It's still not winning yet, but white did exactly the correct thing here and they repeated a few moves and then activated the bishop. And the bishop and the queen ended up being a killer combination. Now black made a mistake with queen to c1 check. Instead, it was very, very difficult to find the only saving line now. It was rook to c6. It's tough because you have to give up so much stuff. You have to give up the 2 pawns. But apparently, this is still holdable because all the pieces are defending each other, and there's a lot of checks that black can also do, and still hold on. But he plays queen to c1, which is very natural. But then it turns out that he has to give up the h5 pawn. And it ended off with one more nice tactic, which is bishop here, and then queen to e5 with the double attack.
Oh, very sweet. Wow.
And that's how the game ended. But you see, these tactics can even happen in endgames when you don't even expect there to be something like that.
Yeah,
now we're
back
nice. To attacking chess. Okay. I chose this game because it was just very aesthetic. The tactics, there's a lot of ways to win here, so the tactics may not be that difficult. There's a lot of good moves, but I just like the way that this game ended. What would you play for white? Lots of options work, but try to find the forcing ones.
Okay. So, well, if I take on d5, then I don't think that black should take back with the c pawn. Otherwise, it's check, check. Maybe it doesn't really work.
I actually didn't even look at rook takes d5.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy because just e takes d5 and then we don't have to worry about this anymore. Or do we actually? Oh, now I see it. Yeah. Okay, so it's bishop f5. This is my
bishop f5 is exactly what he played, and that's a really good move. There was one more, if anybody at home found this one. There is rook takes an e6.
Oh, yeah. That also looks very
If the queen
promising.
takes, then we play our bishop f5 move and win the queen. And if the king takes, then we win the queen with rook to e1. So this was also a very good way to win. But you chose bishop to f5, which is what happened in the game. And I want to show you one more tactical moment. So of course, it's winning in a lot of ways. White's attack is just so good. But after bishop takes e5, I want you to find the best move for white. I really like this tactic by Jules Moussard here.
Okay. So it has to do something with queen a3, I think. But what? Now, if we give a check, the king has to go to d7. But what? Ah, it's bishop c5.
Beautiful,
Check.
right?
Yes, nice. Huh, that is cute.
Bishop to c5, and the idea is that after this, there's queen to a3, winning the queen. But he ended up just trying to make a mating net for the king. So he first gave a check and then took the queen. And the game ended really, really nicely with rook to e4, queen a3, and the king went pretty much all the way back to the first rank. Black actually resigned here, but if the game had continued, you'd go back all the way to the first rank and then get checkmated with the queen and the rook.
Swap
But
places.
you don't see these things every day. It's a really
No,
nice end
definitely
and a
not.
really beautiful sequence. But in the moment that I've shown, there were a few other ways to win. So, I'll put it in the annotations so that you know if you got it right as well. But this is the one that happened in the game, and I think it was a really aesthetic one.
Yes, and that happened in the triathlon. So, as you might know, in Biel, there's not only like a classical chess. It's actually a mixture of classical chess, rapid chess, and blitz chess. After all,
Yes,
so
a lot of the tactics that I'm showing you here are from the triathlon. That's usually where the most, insane attacks and the and fun tactics happen.
nice. Yeah, and who doesn't
And
love tactics, right? So,
this next example is about attentiveness and identifying weak spots in the opponent's position. What should white do here?
wow. So, it's like Jules Moussard. Is he like the opponent to be feared by Le Quang Liem? It's the second victory here,
Yes.
apparently. Good. So what to do here? There's a check on g6. We have to get rid of this knight on e7, though. But then again, it's just a check. So what is such a big deal about it? Well, what happens if our knight goes to g6?
That's a very natural move. Knight to g6.
Oh,
I think black is going to take our knight, which was hanging on the previous move.
and if we take on e7?
Then the
king
king
takes.
can take on e7. And it's we
king
regained the
takes.
piece and we
Yeah.
didn't win any pieces, so it's around even, maybe even better for black.
Yes. Okay, never mind. Let's check it out a bit
And if
further.
knight to h8, I thought you were going after the rook, actually, with knight to g6. There's f5, and attacks both the queen and also regains the knight.
Yes.
And also this bishop is under pressure, so
not good.
This one also doesn't work. It's winning for black.
We have to find something else. All right, so what if we take on e5 with the knight?
Yes, that's a really good start for those who found it. Knight takes on e5. Now, if f takes on e5, we can do this knight to g6 idea, and now it's a lot better.
Yeah, we have the rook threat and...
yeah, not only that, also, if the king ever goes there, now our knight is not under attack. And bishop g5, I mean, a lot of things now work. This is a really favorable opening up. But in the game, he took back with the d pawn.
All right, and now can we not just take on f6 with our rook?
We can, and that's exactly the tactic I wanted you to find. And this is why I said it's about attentiveness, because it's easy to just concentrate on these knights or on the king and then forget that this rook is actually the main thing that's getting attacked here. So
Yeah, I saw that the whole time, like
this is exactly
by
what we need to
accident.
use. Yeah, to open up the position and get a good advantage. So this is what happened in the game. And after queen to c8, he could have captured. This is probably what I would have done. Capture and then just comfortably win one pawn and go for a very good ending with the extra pawn and a strong bishop. But he kept the queens on the board and eventually won. The game went on and white prevailed because of the weak king. So the game ended in a couple more moves like this.
Ouch.
Let's see if I forget
Threats.
how many more there are. Okay,
Oh,
how
there's
about we
another
do
one.
this last
Perfect.
tactic?
Yes.
This one is on the simpler side, but it's still a very double-edged position with opposite side castling, and I think it's a good tactical training regardless. So find the next move for white.
Difficult. Okay. Huh. So, well, that doesn't help. That doesn't help. Have you at home found something yet? Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, very naturally, I didn't even see it, is queen g2, but... Well, this has
Queen
to be
g2,
addressed, yeah.
rook f7.
Yeah. And then...
And then white is still in a really good shape. I would even say winning. But this is not quite the forcing move that I wanted you to find. Remember, always look at checks, captures, and threats first, before anything else.
So let's check on h7. This has to work somehow. This was one of the
h7.
first.
Well, then queen takes on h7, and then what?
Oh, it doesn't work. I thought about rook
Yeah.
g6 maybe, and then rook g1, but it's too slow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay,
still
okay.
worth it to check, though. You're right.
Well, what else could we do? We could just... Taking on g7? That doesn't make sense. No, that cannot be.
Why not? We use the exact same idea that you mentioned with queen to g2, no? You basically you
Wow,
had
you're
it, but maybe you
right.
forgot that it was for.
You're right.
But it's the exact same idea that you mentioned.
It
Queen
is.
g2 was your first initial reaction. And that's, if we just modify it a little bit, that can become the winning tactic.
I had this not on my this was not even going through my mind at all, this move. Oh boy. Wow.
Rook takes on g7, king takes, and queen to g2. It's a bit of a sneaky move to attack both the king and the rook, but it wins the pawn, but it's not just the pawn. It's the fact that the king is now opened up
Yeah,
and very, very close to getting checkmated.
absolutely.
The game continued with b4, and after this strange exchange of a bishop for that knight, white's bishop just became a really good piece. Now, the problem of the rook is that it can never leave. It would love to go
because
to
of
a2,
checkmate.
but it can't because of the checkmate. Exactly. So b takes c3 was also the only way to defend against the queen b2 threat. So the rook stays there, and this bishop just becomes a beast and stands in the middle of the board. After queen there, queen checks so that the rook can actually move away safely to f8, but that doesn't do anything for black. The game ended with a very aesthetic finish, in my opinion, too. White plays, he doesn't move the queen, but plays rook to g1, making sure that black can never take the queen because of rook to g8. Checkmate.
Evil.
So then after black tries to counterattack with bishop a5, white goes queen f6, making it impossible to defend, and black resigns in this position.
That's a cool move.
So those
I
were,
like
I don't know,
that.
5, 6 tactics that we had today from the Biel Festival. Some of them were from faster games, some were from classical. And I hope you also got some more tactical training today. I hope you got some of them right. And it will be
Definitely.
really exciting to see the tactics from this year's edition.
Absolutely, yeah. It's on in July, starting on the 12th of July till the 26th of July, and yeah, it's gonna be a blast. So there's even a tiny chance. I don't want to spoil anything, but maybe Svitlana will stream her games. That would be super exciting. And but we will keep you posted about Biel. We will make another show and one of the next shows and think of something else to present to you. Until then, thank you, Svitlana. Thank you, everybody, for watching. All details about the tournament, of course, in the ChessBase News article and the game and everything else. You know the drill. See you soon.